Today I'm fixing an Analogue shuttle from Layouts for You to my WW1 aftermath layout. It's a 4-foot run. All this shuttle needs is a 12 volt 1 amp supply to go with it. This is 12 volt 2 amp actually. It doesn't actually need a controller in the middle of it. It's the first time I fitted one of these. It uses a couple of diodes that go across gaps in one of the rails. So let's see how it does. This is typical of the sort of locomotive that's going to run on aftermath. What I need to do is cut a gap in the track and then bridge that gap with a diode. These are the two diodes supplied, and I just solder it on the outside of the rail, and each diode must face the same way. That's quite important. Now, how do I choose where to cut it? Well, it needs to be at a position where the locomotive will lose its power, and that's about there, and then I need to give a little bit of room for deceleration as well. So perhaps I need to break the track about there, I think. At the other end is a different story. At the other end of the track I need to cut the gap about here and put the diode here so that the locomotive stops after that point, and I've got to allow room for the two carriages, so a little bit of deceleration room as well, so there's more room needed there. So I've used a felt pen to put a dot on the track. Now I'm going to use the substantial snippers to cut the track. So it doesn't normally do it in one go. That cuts through the lower part, and this does the next. I need to check that the locomotive is not getting any power over that point, so I'm putting a battery on the track, and sure enough it stops. I do need to get another shuttle unit eventually. I've only got one at the moment, so I'll just concentrate on the one lane and make sure that that functions correctly. Now when you cut a gap in the track, it should of course be on the same rail, these two gaps, and they only need to be on one rail, not each rail. So you're just breaking the connection in one rail at 2 points. Diodes are directional, and these are grey at one end, which means they face the same way as they currently are. There's my diode in place. Now what I need to do is solder two wires to the track in the middle section, have these go in the two central screwdriver ports here, and the outside two screwdriver ports, they go to the 12 volt power adapter. And then I've got a speed adjustment here, potentiometer, and a time adjustment there for variable wait time at the ends. There's a screwdriver, and then I can solder a wire onto each side of the track. And that's the nice thing with insulation foam board, is it's very easy to use. So I solder those two wires onto each side of the track. That gives me power, and that go through to the other side onto the speed controller. Soldering the wires onto the track. That'll be covered over by ballast and stuff like that in the end. So this is my power adapter. So I'm going to have to snip that off and get the two wires out to the speed controller. The two leads, and they go to either side of my controller. So what I've got is my plug adapter that just clips in there. This feeds power to the shuttle controller, and that's also going to the track. I've got two more wires here which are for the next shuttle controller that I get, and what I'm going to do with this piece of paper, I'm just going to stick it within the layout, and then I'm going to enclose all of this with a piece of wood, and those instructions are in there so that anyone else or me at a later date, when I take this lid off, I've still got access to those instructions. Now I've noticed things aren't functioning properly, and it's because this is a metallic surface and it's shorting out the circuit board that it's mounted onto, so I need to take this off. It all seems to be happy now. I've got a blue light on my power supply which I wasn't getting, it was shorting out, and I thought, there's something shorting somewhere. At first I thought it was my other wires were touching, but it wasn't that. It was the fact that this circuit board is not mounted in a box, it's bare, and I was mounting it to a piece of foil essentially, so it does need to get mounted away from that, of course. So I might put it on some blue tack. Now you'll notice that the locomotive is shuttling forwards and backwards alright. It's functioning okay. I did find though that I had all these connections around the wrong way, and at first things didn't function at all, and you have to have the positive and negative around the right way on the board. Then once that was correct, I found I had the diodes soldered in the wrong way round and the train was overrunning the track. When you put those around the right way, then everything seemed to function okay. You also have to make sure that the tracks are wired as well correctly, so if things are not functioning properly, just swap those over too. I had to do all those three things, and then it seemed to function okay. Well, here it is. I've spent most of the afternoon on it, and I think it's functioning alright. Yeah. Got a nice slow movement, shuttling back and forth. Does some funny little movements. It's not quite like the Gauge Master shuttle, which seems to function exactly how I was expecting it to. This one is a little bit variable. I have done some of the alterations on acceleration and wait time on it, but I also thought I factory reset it as well, and it doesn't seem to have done that. So it's a funny way of programming it. It's got a button on it that you have to hold, and you have to read the instructions and get them in your head. So it's quite a difficult process to do. Once you've figured out all the wiring and figured out how to press the button in order to program it and let a number of flashes happen on the LED and that sort of thing, once you've done that, it seems to be okay. But I must admit, the Gauge Master shuttle is easier. It's just easier, but then all that does is shuttle back and forth, and I think if you've got the other shuttle that layouts for you do, that's an easier one as well. That just shuttles back and forth, so that would probably be a little bit easier too. Still, it's going, so success.